Time again for the Red, Gold, and Bold. Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, Soren Petro with you as we talk about Matt Nagy. He has a landing spot. He'll be the offensive coordinator for the New York Giants. He links back up with another one of the former Andy Reid assistants as he'll go with John Harbaugh to the Giants. What does that mean? Whose offense is going to be better next year? We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about some news coming down about the arrest of Patrick Mahomes' father with issues with alcohol again. We'll talk about that. Not too much on that. There's not much to say, but we are going to mention it. Then we'll get into breaking down how the Chiefs match up when it comes to each position by position against the two Super Bowl teams. We're doing that right here, right now, the Red, Gold, and Bold.
You are listening to the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Chiefs on planet Earth, breaking down the Chiefs like no one else can. Red, Gold, and Bold is hosted by Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro. Jeff Chadiha is a senior columnist and on-air personality for the NFL Network and NFL.com. Sam McDowell is a columnist for the Kansas City Star. Soren Petro is the afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. The Red, Gold, and Bold podcast is proudly brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete, Kansas City's nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor, making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. Now, here are the hosts of the Best Chiefs podcast, Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro.
Thank you, Curtis. Off and running here with the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast. And let's talk about Matt Nagy. He is a New York Giant. Just when you think there aren't going to be any chairs for him to land in, he lands the Giants job. Sam, let's start with you. Do you get a feeling that this was, we kicked around a couple ideas today on the radio show about, all right, was this a case of John Harbaugh was going through other people and then got around to, okay, nothing's better, I'll take Matt Nagy? Or was it a case that he wanted Matt Nagy to have every opportunity, like Andy Reid seemingly wanted, to interview and perhaps get a head coaching job? Once all the head coaching jobs were filled, he called one of the guys that was tops on his list. How do you view Matt Nagy landing with John Harbaugh?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the answers for certainty with those two. I do know that John Harbaugh that Matt Nagy was on one of his short list. So I know it was a serious candidate from the get-go, and that, this was something that really over the past week or so felt a lot more possible. But look, I think there's a couple takeaways from this, and I'll start with one because I know you guys have thoughts on this too. I think it's a pretty good job. And a couple reasons for that. One, because John Harbaugh has historically let his coordinators call the plays on both sides of the ball. He tends to be more of a CEO. So I think you're going to have actual control of the offense. And secondly, the expectations versus the talent on that team, I think there's the opportunity to do some things. Like if you want to go into a job and prove that you are a good offensive coordinator, I think this is the opportunity to do that. You get a top-notch wide receiver back that the Giants didn't have most of last year. And the time where they did have Malik Nabers, he was playing with Russell Wilson. He didn't play a lot with the quarterback he's going to play with now. A second year, I think, is always an opportunity for a quarterback in general. So I think this is a better job than people are giving it credit for.
Yeah, I don't mind the job. I mean, a young quarterback, I think it's a great one to springboard, right? To have a good year and get yourself back in the head coach mix. Like you said, he gets to call the plays, Jeff. There's a young quarterback. If you have success with that quarterback, certainly he showed promise last year, but he wasn't setting records, right? In fact, there's a lot not to like. He exposes himself to too many hits. Is that something Matt Nagy can coach out of him? I think he's got a chance here where, he can again remind people, hey, I went to the playoffs with Mitch Trubisky, and if he can get this going, Malik Nabers, he's got a top shelf wide receiver to work with. And a guy that'll have a good game plan and one that should be fairly similar to what he knows with Andy Reid overall and what the expectations are during the season. I'm with Sam. I think this is a great job for him to succeed, but I'll say this, if he doesn't, it's a problem. I mean, like then the days of being a head coach candidate will be over.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question about that. I mean, I think a couple things here I think make this job really interesting for Matt Nagy. One is that you're right, it's not Mitch Trubisky, but it's also not Patrick Mahomes. Like you have a chance to really show that you can develop a quarterback who's got talent but hasn't really, got to a place where people think he's a proven, accomplished franchise guy. So there's a lot of clay to work with, to mold for Matt Nagy, so he can have his fingerprints on a Jackson Dart. But more importantly, he's going to be in a big market, and there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on him. So he's going to be playing big games every week against the Cowboys, against the Eagles, and owners watch this stuff. And I think a big reason Robert Saleh probably beat him out for that job in Tennessee was Robert Saleh was on TV a lot, and he's very demonstrative, and he's very expressive, and people see that. Hey, that's the kind of coach I want to have. And so Matt Nagy,
great point.
He's going to have Tony Romo talking about him and Tom Brady, and we talked to that. His name is going to be out there a lot, and that matters when you're trying to be a head coach.
So you're saying that Dan Campbell, big traps, wide shoulders.
I think the great part about Jeff's point is just the difference between how we might evaluate coaches, and I don't just mean we. I mean the people in our comments section, the three of us. I mean people on social media versus how owners evaluate coaches, and I think Jeff brings up a great point. I mean, I think personality goes a lot longer way than people probably think it does. And the personalities that are front and center, I mean, they get more exposure. And when people on TV and the broadcast talk about the Chiefs offense, they show Andy Reid. They don't show Matt Nagy, which speaks to me to the other part of this, which is this reinforces what we already knew, which is over the past, what has it been, like 7 years now, basically since Patrick Mahomes started as a starting quarterback, his second year in the NFL, but his first year as a starting quarterback, the Chiefs offensive coordinator job is not a springboard to another head coaching job. And I understand that the head coach calls plays, that you do have Patrick Mahomes, but look at Sean McVay's tree that just continues to grow branches. And the one here has now become stagnant to where you've got to move on somewhere else if you in turn want to be a head coach, because Eric Bieniemy had to wait forever and then take this path, and then Matt Nagy had to wait 3 years, and now he's taking this path. And like I said, it's a lot different than what's going on in LA.
I might be missing somebody. How many? And I'm not trying to argue. I'm asking legitimately for the answer. How many, playoff wins and successful runs does the McVay tree have? Right. I mean, I don't know. O'Connell's gotten there, but he hadn't really gone anywhere. Right. Like
LaFleur had a bunch when he got to Green Bay early. He went to what?
Was he on the McVay or
LaFleur? I mean, Zach Taylor got to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, but those were guys that were part of the Mike Shanahan. They were all underneath. Were they under McVay?
I think LaFleur was with McVay, and then he went to Tennessee, and then from there he went to Green Bay.
Because I know that they've done the thing about McVay, LaFleur, Kyle Shanahan, and I think it's Zach Taylor that were all on the staff of Mike Shanahan.
Yeah, but Zach Taylor was also on McVay's staff. He was the quarterback's coach.
Was he? Okay.
With the Rams. And then, I mean, you've had certainly other guys. I know that that it's a long list of guys who've had the opportunity too. I mean, Mike LaFleur's now getting the opportunity. I mean, Raheem Morris got the opportunity. I think Chris Shula will be a head coach. My point, and that's, I guess, my bigger point is the opportunity. Is there. They don't say, oh, well, it's all Sean McVay calling plays, or hey, you've got the MVP quarterback this year. Those guys are still getting their opportunities anyway.
It's clear. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
I said LaFleur was the offensive coordinator in 2017.
He was. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, listen, it's clear. And so that is a pretty successful run for the guys that he has coming off his staff. Look, it's clear that the league is saying, we want what he does more than we want what Andy Reid does. Now, part of that's, I think the league is also saying, to Jeff's point, I think, let's be clear. I mean, I think there is an image they want at that position. McVay, Saleh, these are all guys that, they look the part. They look, Dan Campbell looks the part. Mike Vrabel's not quite as, ripped maybe, but he ain't a big fat ass, and he ain't some squirrely. I don't think Mike McDaniel is the guy that
Top Gun. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Like I think there is kind of an image of what they want the the front man for their organization to look like. But I think there also is. I think McVay is also on the cutting edge, as are the Rams, on the analytics part of things, and that's their love language, man. That's what all these guys, their businesses talk about, and they want that. They want to know that you're in tune with that kind of thing. So it'll be interesting. Things are cyclical for sure, and we'll see. But I look, I would like to have seen somebody from the McVay, crew that spent some time there come in and coaching Kansas City. I think it'd be a good thing to bring in some new ideas. I think everybody should be looking to do that. So who has the better offense next year?
Well, sorry, just real quick before we go to that. I mean, Nathan Shieldhouse got a head coaching interview, 2 head coaching interviews, right? Yeah. I mean, their quarterback's coach got a head coaching interview. And so it's viewed differently right now across the league, whether or not you coached in LA under Sean McVay with an MVP quarterback, whether or not you coached in Kansas City under Andy Reid with an MVP quarterback. It's viewed differently right now across the league.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And I think that can't be denied, and that has to be a statement to Clark Hunt and Andy Reid. Part of it's the age of a Steve Spagnuolo, but it's not age with Matt Nagy, right? That's not what it is. They're picking something else. That needs to be a statement to the organization. Not that they have to go hire somebody different, but they need to recognize the rest of the industry is going, they do it better. Okay, that's the direction we want to go. Now, listen, you'll have the last laugh if you're holding another Lombardi trophy next year. That's all you got to do is go out and win, and you'll have the last laugh. I asked this to somebody, and they did kind of laugh, but the question of who will have the better offense next year? Is it the Giants or is it the Chiefs? And tell me, let's start with this, Sam. Either way, what does it mean? What's the statement that it makes if the Giants have the better offense or the Chiefs have the better offense? What do we take away from that?
Well, it's a no-win situation for the Chiefs, right? I mean, it doesn't say anything if the Chiefs have the better offense because you're just going to say they have the better quarterback, which will be true. If the Giants have the better offense, then we're going to be having a very similar conversation that we've had this offseason on this podcast, which is that you can't just run it back with the same scheme. And if that actually becomes the case, which I'm not predicting it will, but if that becomes the case, it only reinforces it tenfold.
Yeah. Jeff, what are the ramifications either way?
Well, Sam's right. I think we all expect the Chiefs to have a better offense because of Mahomes. But if the Giants do, it'll say a lot about Matt Nagy's creativity and his imagination and the fact that Andy was probably holding this thing back. That he wasn't willing to listen or accept new ideas from a guy like Nagy. And I don't know. I'm curious to see what Nagy does with this offense because I don't remember a lot of what he had in Chicago, and I know Mr. Trubisky was an issue, but I'm curious to see what he does with a quarterback who's got this skill set and a legitimate explosive receiver and a running back who's very unique in Scatterboo. I mean, the offensive line I think is still a little bit shaky there, but a lot of things I like about what you can do with the skill positions.
Yeah, the thing that interests me most about his scheme is I think that Matt Nagy, when you look at the difference between the way the Chiefs operate versus Matt Nagy's preference to operate, he likes to put the quarterback in motion more than I think that we've seen here. And you saw that in the playoffs a year ago. I mean, the Chiefs' most effective play against the Bills in the AFC Championship game was putting the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hand as a runner. And we know how good he is as a thrower, but it was deceptive the fact that they ran design runs. Now, I'm not talking about scrambles. I'm talking about design runs. And now he's got a quarterback that almost puts him – I mean, he does put himself in danger too much. But I do think he's going to put his legs in play more. And my guess is there's some excitement from Matt Nagy, not just from being able to have control of things, but in a different way. I mean, he certainly isn't going to walk in there and say, we can do everything we could do in Kansas City because he knows the quarterback talent isn't the same. But vice versa is true as well. He's going to look at the quarterback and say, there's some things we can do in New York that opens up the playbook a little bit.
Yeah. Listen, I don't think you need – I think it needs to be pretty definitive. If the Giants are better offensively, and if it's 2-3, no, that's not what I'm talking about. So Tommy, stick it. I'm talking if it's definitively.
Is Tommy even on today? But he still gets the blast.
Of course he gets. Of course he's always. First of all, I know Tommy can take it, but second of all, I know he's thinking something that would probably piss me off anyway. So I'll throw it his way. But I think if they are definitively better, I think it needs to be. I'm sitting here saying that Andy Reid would have to make a wholesale change, or I think you are talking about the head coach. Now, if they finish 20th in defense and win the Super Bowl because they're number one, or finish 20th in offense and win the Super Bowl because they're number one in defense, fine. No, I mean, the bottom line is going to be wins. It's not going to be like, if he loses a overtime game in the Super Bowl, you're going to fire the guy. That's not what I'm getting at. But we know if it doesn't get moving here, and it does there, that's going to be a really big problem. I mean, I don't think you have to be shy. And not that either one of you guys are. I think anybody else out there. I think if you're the Chiefs, there's nothing wrong with saying, like, we need to make a big jump, and that team better not go by us, because it will mean that the hindrance was the head coach. He's been given everything he wants. We'll see what they do in the draft. Well, if there's anything to appreciably change this team offensively and free agency, those will be factors as well. But I think this sets up even more that it's going to be, I'll put it this way, it'll be easier to create a scorecard and say, didn't get it done. Does that make sense, Jeff?
Yeah, no question. And to be honest with you, I mean, Andy Reid, when he brought in Mahomes, brought a lot of college concepts to the NFL. And I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who's a NFC front office guy for a story. We were talking about just how offenses change. And he was just saying, people don't understand how different the college game is from the NFL game now. Like it's a whole different way of playing football offensively, and the way the quarterbacks, what they're able to do, the willingness of teams to run the quarterback, and it really forces defensive backs to play closer to the line of scrimmage. The explosive plays are always there because the quarterback's in play. And he said the NFL, with all these too high shell coverages and the quality of athletes you have now, you have to be able to adjust to that. And I think Andy Reid was on the cutting edge when Mahomes first showed up, but now it's gone so far away from what the college game is. The college game is still what it is, and it's evolved so much, but he can't go back to that well now. He's got to go someplace else to find new ideas.
Yeah, and it is. Listen, it's going to be interesting. That's all I'll say. I mean, I think it's going to be a fun year to sit and evaluate, and I think we're going to learn a lot about where the team is right now based upon what they do. All right, let's take a quick break. Real quick, I want to get to Patrick Mahomes Sr. I don't think there's a lot here, but Sam, and I think Jeff, I know you've interviewed him as well.
I know him.
Yeah. First of all, I feel there's obviously a problem here. I think that's pretty clear. And so the humanity part of it, I think first you think of him and his situation and what's going on there. But then also, this is a reminder that Patrick Mahomes has dealt with a lot beyond just playing football. That there's always seemingly been a lot going on around this guy, and yet Sammy's never had a misstep.
Yeah, I mean, that misstep includes, I'm amazed when Patrick Mahomes comes to the podium and you could throw any question at him and he's somehow prepared for it, and never has a misstep even with his words either. I mean, it truly is, and it's one of the most common questions we get in the media, right? Is what's this player like? What's this player like? What's this player like? And I tell people, Patrick Mahomes is what you see. Like that is the person that he is in the locker room. It's the person that he is with his teammates. I mean, it's a genuinely good person to root for if you are a Chiefs fan. And it's easy to forget that since he came into the league, he's dealt with a lot of distractions over his career that have been out of his control. I've also talked to Pat Sr. Several times, and he's great to chat with.
Yeah.
I mean, could not be more courteous with you. He's just been great to chat with.
Yeah, Jeff, what's your takeaway from yet another situation with him?
Well, it just speaks to how much pressure it's on him behind the scenes. And I think I agree with everything Sam said about just the way he handles things and who his dad is. But, I've always wondered, how long would he be able to play football and deal with this stuff? Because I think he's asked to do a lot with his family, to take care of a lot of issues. And I don't want to get too deep into his business, but it's very clear that he's somebody who's a caretaker personality who likes to make sure people are happy. And as you get older and you've got your own family and you've got other things going on in your life, that can sap you a lot of mental energy and emotional energy. And so, I hope his dad is all right, gets the help. You see his brother really hasn't really been around at all anymore. So whatever happened with him, it's gotten under control. But I think all this stuff comes back to Pat probably having to step in and handle things. And that's a lot to ask for a guy who's, even though he's an adult, he's only 30 years old, and it's a lot to carry.
Yeah, doing it under the ultimate microscope. I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing how the guy has handled everything that he's handled through this. All right, we're going to start breaking it down. Chiefs versus the Pats and Seahawks at each position. We'll do it after you hear from our friends at GAN. GAN Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Locally owned and making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Let GAN educate you about the most cost-effective way to solve your parking lot problems. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews. Every project comes with a written warning. GAN Asphalt keeps your parking lot safer and helps you and your business avoid unnecessary delays and costly expenses. Find GAN online at GANAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. GAN Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot.
This episode of Red, Gold, and Bold is brought to you by Frontier Justice, where freedom is a lifestyle grounded in safety, responsibility, and respect. With locations in Lee Summit, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas, and Jenks, Oklahoma, Frontier Justice offers firearms retail, a premier indoor shooting range, and training all under one roof. Whether you're new to shooting or a seasoned pro, you'll find expert staff, top-tier gear, and a strong sense of community. Faith, family, freedom. That's what Frontier Justice stands for. Visit frontier-justice.com to learn more.
All right, let's talk about the quarterback position. This was, pretty easy back in the day to sit here and say, okay, Patrick Mahomes, he's number one, he's tops on everything. But I think it's a little bit more of a conversation here. Jeff, we're going to kind of do this as like same or a little better or a lot better or a little worse, a lot worse, kind of maybe 5 categories here that we can look at this and just measure up and see how close they are talent-wise, which to me I think will take us back towards, okay, how much of it's scheme and whatnot that we're talking about here as to the Chiefs being a problem. So let's start at the quarterback position. Where do the Chiefs rank against, where's Patrick Mahomes rank against Drake May and Sam Darnold?
Well, he's a lot better. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if there's a discussion to be had.
Well, I bring it up because the PFF grade will tell you that Drake May was a lot better, right? So that's why I say it's more of a discussion than I think we'll all agree. Who's got the better resume? Obviously, Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. Who would you take? Patrick Mahomes. But this year,
who's played better? You're asking me.
I mean, no. Who's better? Like, where are they? Because to me, I think Patrick Mahomes may not have played as well, but I think it may have been because his scheme's not as good. It may have been because his receivers aren't as good. It may have been because his line's not as good. So, I mean, are you still confident that Patrick Mahomes is still definitively better?
Yes. I think you can't. I'm not having this conversation about Patrick Mahomes being, having an equal, unless it's like Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow in the conversation. I mean, hats off to Drake May for the season he's had, but some of that can be schedule driven. I mean, he didn't face the toughest schedule in the world, which means he didn't face the toughest defenses in the world. The way he's played the postseason, to me, he hasn't had a good game yet. He's had some moments and some big moments, but he hasn't played a complete game. And so I'm not going to go there just yet. He's got to do more. Even winning a championship, I wouldn't put him in that conversation just yet.
Yeah. Okay. So much better. All right. I'm going to put down Sam.
Yeah, I'm totally with Jeff. I mean, I think Drake May had a terrific year, but he faced the easiest schedule in terms of offensive schedules this year. It's not just the Patriots faced the easiest schedule; they also faced the easiest schedule with their offense. So, I think Drake May is great, but I don't put him in the same category. And I think these playoffs have proven it. Like once he's played good teams, in 3 games, he's thrown 2 picks, he's fumbled 6 times, he's been sacked 15 times. His passer rating is like 80 in these 3 games combined, and 2 of them are real stinkers. So I don't think that they're in the same class right now.
Okay. And so definitively, you go both quarterbacks are inferior to him.
Yeah, I mean, Drake May is great. Sam Darnold's a great story, but Patrick Mahomes is elite.
Okay, and I agree, and I think there is. To me, that's why when you see the performance of both of them, when you see where PFF grades them, I still think Patrick Mahomes plays at a high level because I think there are a lot of people that were saying, well, Pat's got to do this, Pat's got to do that. So I'm curious how many people would say, well, Pat's okay, I'm going to give it to Pat on past history. But I think for me, but the answer that, the reason that the fact that you guys both say that says that we feel that the problems lie elsewhere, right? It's not the quarterback position because we still think he's definitively better. So let's move on to the running back position. What do we think about the difference in the running back position? By the way, I looked at PFF's positional grades coming into the year. Positional grades for the running back position, 5 for Seattle, 22 for New England, 24 for the Chiefs. Right? That's what it was coming into this season. I was just looking at the season.
What were the 8 teams that had the Chiefs ahead of coming into this season?
You want to know? I will tell you. Here, let me tell you. It was running backs. So it was. What did I say? The Chiefs.
I don't think any of the 3 of us in the preseason would have ranked them as high as 24.
No. Ready? 25 was Jacksonville. 26 was the Steelers. Both of those were definitively better. 27 was the Bengals. 28 was the Broncos. 29 was the Browns. 30 Bears. Ooh, 30 the Bears.
Wow. Yeah.
30 the Bears. 31 the Giants. 32 the Cowboys. I mean,
the Cowboys didn't know who they had. Yeah, I could see the Cowboys.
And Giants is understandable too. Actually,
they had added Javonte Williams.
Yeah, but he was coming off a bad season.
Yeah, I mean, he was statistically the worst running back in the league the year before.
I was up for signing him, so I'll go ahead and hang my hat on that one.
But there's some weird ones on that list, and Eric Bieniemy got the only team in the league that had 2 750-yard rushers, and it was somehow ranked 6 spots below the Chiefs there.
Yeah, I mean, that was going into the year. I want people to understand that was going into. That was the expectation for that's not the end of 25. That was going in. I just thought it was interesting to see what the difference was. So, all right, how much better, Sam, are the Chiefs? How much worse? Where would you put them against the Patriots running backs, against the Seahawks running backs?
We're all in the same spot here, right?
Yeah, you kind of teased it already.
Yeah, I mean the wherever you put the other teams, I mean the Chiefs have an F this year, and there's actually a theme with those other 2 teams in comparison to the Chiefs. They had a starter and they still went out and added somebody, and the Chiefs spent the second least amount of dollars this year, like actual dollars on running backs in terms of their salary cap charge. And in the past, I would have complimented that and said, this is not the position you should spend. But given the way teams played defense against them the past 3 years, they couldn't afford to be at the bottom of the league. They had to know that their running game was going to be impactful to their passing game. And instead, they just ran it back with the same group.
So a couple of things. One, the Patriots had the 5th most expensive running back. So I think that, and that's largely with re-signing Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah, and one of those who's not even that expensive is a rookie, because it's on the first year of a rookie.
And that's what I'm going to get to. And then the Seahawks running back spending was 23rd, which yet they're ranked number 1 running back wise. Right, like in one of the as far as the PFF grades, I think they have the number 1 and number 3 running backs at the end of the year. So they obviously played very well. But they're as expensive as far as how much money you put into it. There's also expensive as far as what you put into the draft.
Yeah,
I think 2 second-round picks for the Seattle Seahawks. That's Charbonnet and
Walker
at the top, and then it's a 2nd and a 4th. In what you've got over on the New England Patriots for their top 2 backs. The Chiefs have a 7th and nothing claimed off waivers.
And a 7th.
Yeah.
2 7s. I got Smith
and Brashard Smith.
Pacheco,
And Brashard Smith. Yeah. So, okay. All right. Let's go to the wide receiver position. Where do we sit now on where the wide receiver room is? This should be interesting, Sam. What do you got?
I think I might be against the grain here. I think they're quite a bit worse than the Seahawks, but I have them better than the Patriots group.
Okay.
And I actually think this is where you do get into the scheme stuff, because we
a lot better.
I think they're a little better than the Patriots. So if you're grading the Chiefs as a 0 on that scale, the Seahawks is a 2, and maybe the Patriots is -1. But this to me is where you start to get into the scheme stuff, because the Patriots got more yards out of Mac Hollins this year than the Chiefs did out of Xavier Worthy. Hollins is 32 years old. He only once in his career had more than 378 yards in 9 seasons. and they got more yards out of that guy than the Chiefs did out of a first-round pick. And so that's that. I think the Chiefs, talent-wise, is second. The production-wise, I mean, you look at the Patriots' production, you say, well, absolutely, the Patriots got more. They had a clear-cut number one wide receiver. Booty had 6 touchdowns. Hollins had over 500 yards. But I still think, because we included tight end in this, I still think the Chiefs have the better guys to throw to.
Okay. Yeah, it was the receivers, how we did it. All right, Jeff, where do you come in?
I didn't weigh in on the running back thing, but I agree with what Sam.
Oh, you didn't? I'm sorry. Please give me the.
Right. I'm sorry. There are a lot worse. There's nothing to offer there. They're a lot worse. So
yeah.
Okay. Not a big conversation we had there.
That was a chalk group. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't need to say anything there, but I would say equal. I'd say same here. I don't think that the Chiefs are better
on the Pats and Seahawks, or just the Pats.
Oh, we're doing both. Okay, Pats equal. No, Seahawks better. Seahawks they're worse.
Way worse.
Way worse.
-2.
Not even close. I mean,
now we've all three got them -2 on the Seahawks.
Yeah, 1,700-yard receiver.
I guess I see more in Stephon Diggs than anything on the Chiefs receiving core. I think because I have to grade the Chiefs receivers as bad if I've got, in my opinion, if Patrick Mahomes is +2, then why aren't the numbers better? Right? He can't have pretty good receivers unless you come in and say, well, the offensive line was the disaster, and I think there'll be some conversation there. But for me, I felt like I think Rashee Rice, of sound mind, with a good scheme, I think he's a real good number 2, right? And I think you're okay if he's your lead receiver. We've had that discussion. Xavier Worthy, I think, is trending towards being a bust. Okay. And Juju Smith-Schuster, I'm not seeing it there. Hollywood Brown, I didn't see it. I think that the receiving core is a problem. I think it was a bigger problem. I don't think they do anything for the running game, the other part of it. So I've got them -1 against the Pats and an easy -2 against the Seahawks. I mean, JaxonSmtih-Njigba almost alone leaves them in the dust. So I'm a little bit more down on the receiving core. But I will say this. I may be turning around and going, you know what? I was too harsh on it. If we see real receiver coaching, and if we see the athletic talents of the receivers be magnified, like clearly, I mean, they added a 7th-round pick to the Bears and Eric Bieniemy, to your point, Sam, and they rushed for 700 more yards last year over this year. Swift's yards per carry went up by like a yard. So coaching matters. Right. And it may very well be that we'll see that like a low first and a 2nd-round pick wide receiver end up looking a lot better after they get some better coaching at the position and maybe tweak the offensive scheme. But right now, I'm pretty down on the wide receivers. So I'm down on that, but I'm throwing myself on the mercy that I may end up looking stupid if some good coaching gets them going in the right direction.
You're not counting tight end then? Because
yeah,
Sam was counting tight end.
Yeah, I included tight end in that. Like I'm just going with this last year. I mean, if you head into next year, I think the conversation changes a little bit. Well, it could change significantly, but I just think overall, if you're an offensive designer, which is Andy Reid in this situation, and you're have a choice before the year of which group to go with, I'm going with the group the Chiefs had over the group that was put in front of the Patriots this year.
Before the year, but what about after the year?
Even after the year, yeah, because I think so much of this grading that we're doing now, you need to factor in the position these guys were put in, and they were put into positions. I mean, Soren, you've said this as much as anybody. We've all said it, but you said it as much as anybody. The fact that they looked like the Chargers knew what was coming.
Oh, for sure.
Against them late in the year, that's hard for a wide receiver to beat.
Well, and I think that's what we're going to find out. Is that all they can handle? They can't handle any more of a playbook than what they were given. You know, that's part of the equation as well. I'm with you. I may be harsh. I don't think Travis Kelce was really that. I mean, I think he had a fine season, but this idea that he was like still a weapon, he was not. He was a fine tight end. And the tight end play in Seattle was as good or better. In New England, it wasn't far off. So I don't think Travis Kelce tilts the scale anymore. I don't think he's a finger on the scale. I think he's the best tight end out of everyone that we're talking about here right now still. But I don't think the difference between him and the others. That's why I'm going to tell you, I think he's going to come back. I think they're going to give him $15-16 million. And I'm confident that will be a mistake. Like I think it's coming. Wow. I don't think that's a wise decision. because I think he has become a good player. Now, there's the locker room presence, and if you want to say that's worth $10 million, okay, I'll listen. But it can't be worth $10 million if you go 8-9 next year. It wasn't worth $10 million if you go 8-9. If you're going to give the guy $16 million and $10 million of it's for the locker room presence, or $18 million and $8 million of it's for the locker room presence, all that, then it better work, because he was in the locker room last year and you won 6 games. So, like, I think we tell ourselves we want to believe these things. Okay, then somebody's got to identify, and I don't mean you guys, but I mean somebody, if I'm in the Chiefs meeting, it's got to identify to me where we really sucked. Okay, because if Mahomes is still fantastic and Kelsey's still a top tight end and he's a great locker room presence, and we love Josh Simmons, and we go through all this, and at the end of the day, we come in and we're ass again. Well, what then show me what sucks. We can't all be great, and we won 6 games.
Well, there's a major piece of this, which is they switched up their offensive coordinator, the running backs coach, the wide receivers coach. I mean, I don't think that they're running it back.
If switching up the offensive coordinator means anything different, I mean, yes, then they are doing. Your point's valid. All right, let's offensive line. I think this one will be interesting. I did get you, Jeff, on the wide receivers, right?
Yep. Yeah, you got me.
I want to make sure. Offensive line. Where do you go there, Sam?
I actually think the Chiefs have the best group of these 3 that are left, marginally. Barely better than these other 2 teams, but you look at like all the rankings, and like they finished second on pass block win rate this year. The Chiefs offensive line, second on pass block win rate. They finished 6th on run block win rate, and that's tracked by ESPN analytics. On PFF, they ranked pretty well. I think they were the 9th overall group and one, and like 12th in the other. And they're ranking ahead of the Patriots across the board, and they're ranking ahead of the Seahawks in most of these as well. I guess I was kind of surprised a little bit by that, although I did think this group had a much better year pass blocking. But then I thought of it this way. When we go into this offseason and we rank what positional needs the Chiefs have, this isn't anywhere close to the top of my list as far as getting a starter for the offensive line. And we all made fun of the national reporter who said the Chiefs needed some offensive line help, right? And so, like, I don't think this is near top of the list for them. I think these other teams have managed to overcome some issues that they've had on the offensive line this year.
Jeff, how about you?
Yeah, they're I don't want to say a lot better. I would say better than both. But certainly you look at the Seahawks, and they had all kinds of offensive line problems for years. They've got it figured out this year, but it wasn't they didn't go from like a 0 to a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10. They've invested a lot. A couple first round picks. Gray Zabel came in and did a really good job for them at guard immediately. And they got some guys healthy. Abe Lucas stayed healthy. Charles Cross stayed healthy. And they put up big numbers because the offensive line has played better, but they don't have the star power. They don't have a Creed Humphrey, a Trey Smith type guy. Josh Simmons has shown a lot of ability, and we'll see what he becomes, but he's got the talent. I mean, the Chiefs, you look at, and especially with Suamataia getting in at guard and playing well, they're pretty much stable at 4 spots. And so I give them credit there. And then on the other side of it with the Patriots, they gave up 40. Drake May was the 4th most sacked quarterback in the league this year. And you saw the problems they had. Sanders mentioned 15 sacks in the postseason. And so they're playing a couple rookies, and Will Campbell, the left guard's a rookie. They've done a good job with it, but I think Drake May's mobility has probably saved them a lot in terms of making them look better than what they actually are. So I'll go with the Chiefs.
So I'm putting you down for +1 and +1, right? Just better. All right, I'm going to go +2 over the Patriots and +1 over the Seahawks. I do think they're better. I also like the Chiefs' offensive line moving forward, right? Like, I think that's something to like. I will say this. Yes, I don't think like top need is offensive line, but if you're there at 9 and you can't move back, and the no-brainer can't miss edge rushers are gone, and you look at it and go, I like Love, but I'm not taking a running back here, and you don't love the wideouts, and the top offensive tackle on the board is there, you better take him, because Jalen Moore's got 1 more year on his contract. He was exposed against Dallas. I think, I agree with everything that you guys have said. I just want to add, as good as I think it is, and I think it's better than it looked too. I think schematically they got hung out to dry a little bit, but I also think that, I would not mind seeing an offensive tackle taken and knowing that, okay, we don't have to worry about that for 4 years because we got the 5th-year option over on Simmons, presuming he's healthy, of course. And then we're looking at even extending these guys, and we're back to having the tackles really taken care of. I think that's a good situation for the Chiefs to find themselves.
Can I mention something real quick, Soren? I know we got to get to the defense, but I think the takeaway for me offensively, because these two teams were in the Super Bowl, right? We're measuring these against the teams that have been the most successful teams in the NFL. They were the 1 and 2 seeds in the regular season. They didn't get to the Super Bowl by happenstance in the postseason either. And I had the Chiefs as having the best quarterback, the second best wide receiver, and the best offensive line among these 3 teams. There's, to me, 2 takeaways from that. One is the run game matters a lot.
Yep.
And it matters more than it did 5 years ago. It matters more than it did in 2019 when the Chiefs started this run. And the rest of the league has slowly adapted to that because defenses have adapted to the inefficiency, the ineffectiveness of running game. And they've said, we're going to make it matter whether or not you can run the ball. That's the way defenses are playing now. Other teams have adjusted to it. The Chiefs have been slower to it. And so that, to me, when I ranked these positions, because if we could have gone -5 on running backs on these, we would have gone -5. Like that's – and teams said, we're going to make you run it. And when you can't do it, it just – this whole running backs don't matter. I was on board with that. But defenses have changed.
Yeah.
They're making them matter. Yeah. And the Chiefs have not adapted to that yet. And based on these rankings, they better adapt to it this offseason.
Yeah, it's like my guy says, like the NFL right now is like old man pickup basketball.
Yeah.
Not much space to move. Everybody's just kind of banging into each other.
Yeah, I like it. I think that's a great way to put it. All right, we're going to get to the defensive side of the ball after you hear from our friends at Frontier Justice.
This episode of Red, Gold, and Bold is brought to you by Frontier Justice, where freedom is a lifestyle grounded in safety, responsibility, and respect. With locations in Lee Summit, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas, and Jenks, Oklahoma, Frontier Justice offers firearms retail, a premier indoor shooting range, and training all under one roof. Whether you're new to shooting or a seasoned pro, you'll find expert staff, top-tier gear, and a strong sense of community. Faith, family, freedom. That's what Frontier Justice stands for. Visit frontier-justice.com to learn more.
Gann Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Locally owned and making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Let Gann educate you about the most cost-effective way to solve your parking lot problems. With free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty, Gann Asphalt keeps your parking lot safer and helps you and your business avoid unnecessary delays and costly expenses. Find Gann online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. All right, let's get on the defensive side of the ball, and we'll start with the defensive line. Jeff, you love your defense. We'll let you do the honors. Chiefs versus Pats, Chiefs versus the Seahawks on the defensive line. How big is the margin, and which way is it?
Oh, Chiefs are behind, a lot behind. Both these teams are really good in the trenches and really good in the interior. Seahawks, I mean, you could argue they got maybe the best defensive line in football with Lawrence and Byron Murphy and Leonard Williams. Derek Hall's underrated. I mean, they can create so much problems for you with just those front 4 guys getting after it, and they make plays. They get to the football. I think DeMarcus Lawrence had a couple touchdowns this year, right? In the same game, he had like 2 fumble recoveries for a touchdown, return for a touchdown.
It's the Cardinals, yeah.
Yeah, the Cardinals. And so on the other side of it too, I mean, Christian Barmore, Milton Williams, what they have in both these teams, like the way they get after the football it's super impressive because they got a lot of big guys who are super athletic, and the Chiefs just don't have that. They got one big guy who's athletic, who's old and sometimes not engaged, and that's really it. And so, I mean, I don't think it's close.
I think that's a fair assessment. Sam, how do you look at it in the trenches?
Yeah, I'd put them way behind Seattle and just behind, not just barely behind, but I'd put them behind New England.
Okay.
And I mean, Seattle's about as good as it gets. Like, they have the 4th highest pressure rate in the league, and they almost never blitz. Like, it's just those 4 dudes. And New England doesn't blitz that often either. I think they're like 11th in pressure rate or something, which to me, I mean, and look, the Chiefs want more resources in the defensive line. I mean, they tried to put, they took a 2nd-round pick with Omar Norman Lott in the 2nd round, who obviously, injured his leg out for the season. But these 2 Super Bowl teams, their commonality is not with the Chiefs, but with the teams the Chiefs have faced in the Super Bowl, which is they get pressure with 4. That's what the Eagles did against the Chiefs last year. They just brought 4. They didn't blitz a single time in last year's Super Bowl. They didn't need to blitz in last year's Super Bowl. It's what the first 49ers team did to the Chiefs. And I know the Chiefs won that game. That offense was about as bad as we've seen the Chiefs offense look all year long. Like, that team scored 51 against the Texans in the divisional round. They put up 30-something against the Titans. Like, that offense was moving. And suddenly, when a team only has to bring 4 to put pressure on you, we haven't seen that from the Chiefs. And, I mean, the Chiefs, if you actually just grade it by these 3 teams, they had the guy who was first in pressures, which was actually Karlaftis, second in pressures with Chris Jones. Their next highest guy is like 13th. 10 of the next 10 guys are New England, Seattle, New England, Seattle, New England's like, and that speaks to where the Chiefs are. Is they've got 2 guys who might be able to win and just nothing behind them. And a defensive line is about being able to win individual battles. When they can double you up, it gets really tough.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm -1 against the Pats. I think the Pats are better. I think they're certainly deeper. To your point there, Sam, and the Seahawks is not even close. I mean, and that speaks to me, like, that kind of tells the story here, especially when we look at these next couple of units, the way I think the numbers are going to go in the next 2 units. Like, here lies the issue: running the ball, running backs, and the D-line, right? Like, I think that's a lot what we're going to find. And I think part of the problem on defense is that they had to go out there more because they couldn't sustain the ball. They had long drives, right? It was death by 1,000 paper cuts. But, a lot of times there were drops and different things like that. But the defense couldn't just wreck the other side either and put the offense right back out there. It was kind of a let's give up 30 yards but not give up points, or just give up a field goal. And it's because they couldn't get the knockout punch. Right?
That's why third downs sucked.
Yes.
For them too, a year ago. I mean, people are wondering why their third downs were so much worse last year. They didn't pressure the quarterback. That makes third downs really tough.
Yes. Don't mix words, Sam. Come on out. Tell us what you think. What do you really mean? What are you getting at? All right, linebacker. Where do you go linebacker here, Jeff?
I think it's about the same across the board. I think all 3 of these teams have guys who are more scheme dependent. Like Ernest Jones has played really well for Seattle. I want to give him credit. I think he's really shown up a lot in the postseason. He's around the ball a lot. He's pretty decent in pass coverage. But I like Nick Bolton a lot. I think he's an underrated linebacker, even though he's not great in coverage. I think Drew Tranquill has regressed some, but when he was on his game, he was pretty good. I think Leo Chenal has proven to be a guy who could be a nice. I think he will be a better player somewhere else with someone who can use him probably in more ways than they can. He just can't be as big a factor in this defense. But I think Spillane has played well for the Patriots. I think Ellis, the other guy, has played well for them. But I think most of these guys, they benefit from what they have up front. I mean, they're able to do a lot more things and fly around more and take more chances because they know the guys up front are taking care of business. And that makes a huge difference for you.
Okay. Sam?
Yeah, I think that last point's great. I mean, if these linebackers have an easier job than I think the Chiefs linebackers do, and it's prevented the Chiefs from being good where they should be good at linebacker, just stopping the run, because Nick Bolton can stop the run. He's in on one of the highest percentage of run stops of any linebacker in the league. But when offensive line are allowed to get to the second level and block them, that happens less frequently. I've got the Chiefs even with Seattle, and I've got them 1 ahead of New England. I don't think New England's linebackers are great. And I think the Chiefs are pretty good at linebacker. I think Seattle's pretty good at linebacker too.
I think the Chiefs are pretty good at linebacker as well.
But they better be. They invest in it.
Yes.
Everybody gets paid there.
They damn well better be good at linebacker. They're the 5th most expensive linebacker unit in football, and that's without Leo Chenal getting to his payday. We know that's heavily Nick Bolton's check on there. But I think they are better, and I do think that the guys up front are the problem. I've got them +2 on the Patriots linebackers. I think they are night and day over the Pats linebackers.
Where did you have them with Seattle?
+1. I have them being better. Seattle's really good, but I think the Chiefs linebacking unit is one of the best in football. Like I think they're versatile. I'm with you, Jeff. I think Nick Bolton is a thumper. And if you put him behind a great defensive line, we'd be listening to Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football doing specials on him blowing people up in the backfield. He takes good direct routes. Like when there is a path, he has running back vision from the linebacker spot. And when there is a path to blow a guy up in the backfield, he will get there. He doesn't get caught in traffic, unnecessary traffic. A guard comes out untouched and gets a chance to get his hands on him. He has issues like anybody would with a 330-pound man that can get right to you. But like when he has a chance to seek and destroy, he destroys. And, we know he's got the knock on the pass coverage. But I think Tranquil is a really good, versatile kind of utility knife. And I'm with both of you. I think Leo Chenal, like if he played for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I won't be surprised if somebody puts him on the edge. And I'm
surprised this team did not at some point last year with their struggle getting pressure from the edge.
I asked that when they drafted him because when you watched him at Wisconsin, he was such a down. He had a number of sacks from the middle linebacker spot, but always off a blitz, and he was so downhill in how he brought it. I'm like, are they looking at this guy? Is this like, this kind of Mike Vrabel type guy? Is that what they're trying to do? Yeah. And are they going to play a little more 3-4? It's just like I couldn't really figure. Then when he couldn't get on the field, I'm like, they took a tweener, and they can't figure out how to use him. Then they figured out how to use him, and he was a really good player. But I think he's got a chance, the right team, right scheme, to blow up.
If he went to New England, I guarantee you he would probably be a bigger star.
I think so too. I think so too. All right, that takes us to the secondary, Jeff. How do you sit on the secondary?
They're way behind both of them. I mean, Seattle's not even close.
Okay, so -2 for both?
-2 for both, yeah. I mean, Seattle secondary. Seattle, there's not a guy in Seattle secondary who couldn't come here and take a job. I mean, Julian Love.
Over Brian Cook, over.
What? You're being funny. Okay.
You don't think?
I mean, I'm stunned by this, to be honest.
Yeah, I am too.
I think Seattle's got a great secondary, but yeah. I didn't think the Chiefs were bad at sec. I didn't know the Chiefs had an issue.
Not bad, but I like Julian Love a lot. I've liked him since he's with the Giants. I think Emanwari, the rookie, is super talented. Going to be a great player, and then Devin Witherspoon is one of the best corners in football, maybe the best, arguably this year.
Yeah.
And Reek Woolen is a 6'2" guy who runs a 4.27 40. He's got a anger management issue, but they got some guys over there, and then. Other side with the Patriots. Now, maybe you can argue the Patriots safeties aren't that great, but I think they've been solid. But Christian Gonzalez is an all-pro level corner, and Carlton Davis III is pretty good. And Marcus Jones is a solid nickel guy for them. And so I think both those defensive backfields are superior to what the Chiefs have.
Okay, Sam?
-2, though, on the Patriots.
The safeties kill the Chiefs.
I have the Chiefs at -1 on Seattle, and I've got them at +1 on the Patriots. I mean, I think that the Chiefs cornerbacks, and I think Christian Gonzalez is a good player. I'd rather have McDuffie than Gonzalez, and whoever you consider number 2 for the Patriots. I think Jalen Watson's a better corner. I thought Noel Williams had a pretty good year, and I think that the Patriots safeties are going to get exposed in this Super Bowl. And look, if we did this last year, I mean, I was hard on Brian Cook's performance in 2024. I think the guy had the most underrated good year for the Chiefs in 2025. I thought he was great. And there's 2 players on that list for the Chiefs that are going to get paid. Like, their worth is going to be proven on the open market, and most likely by somebody else. But I think the rest of the league views those guys as pretty valuable pieces.
I think the Chiefs' depth of corner is really good. And so I've got a +1 on New England, and I've got a -1 on Seattle, but it's a begrudging -1. It's me having to admit that the other safety next to Brian Cook was always a problem, and they never did really solve that. So that is where I would agree, but I do think Trent McDuffie is really good. I do think he struggles against big receivers, which is something that Gonzalez has got. Like I think, the PFF grades are always really high, and you hear a lot of good rankings. I do think Trent McDuffie, the big receiver, you're going to want a bigger corner. I think we're going to find that out when we see the contract. Like, we're going to be like, oh, okay. wow, it's not quite as high. Like he's going to be viewed more as a good to very good outside corner and a great slot, which they're going to say that's not worth as much. I don't know if that's right. I don't know if that's the right way to look at it, but I think that's what the contract's going to show. But yeah, I think the depth of their corner position is really good. And I think like we talk about the linebackers, don't we have to give some credit to the secondary?
Yes, they had to cover forever this year.
That's a fair point. Yeah.
I mean that's part of it as well. Okay. And do we want to throw special teams in there? You want to give that that's not really
I think Seattle's got that covered too. I mean, Seattle and England both really good at special teams across the board. Return game and kicking, punting.
Not a good year for the kicking side for the Chiefs. So we know the penalties.
Yeah, I mean the Patriots have some issues, but they do have 3 returns for touchdowns for the special teams, which I think gives them the edge. And Seattle's special teams is terrific. I mean, they win games with their special teams. I mean, the Seattle should be ranked ahead of anybody in the league, but particularly this group, I think Seattle would be +2 on the Chiefs. I guess New England probably just +1 on the Chiefs.
And Jeff, are you -2 on both?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll go -2, -2.
When's the last time the Chiefs had a return for a touchdown?
That's one of the things I was trying to remember. It is harder on the kickoffs now, but yeah,
is it Nile Davis? We going back that far?
Yeah, I don't think McColl never got in the end zone.
That's not that far.
McColl never got in the end zone. Remigio hasn't gotten in the end zone.
I mean, who was the kick returner before they changed the rules? Was it? I guess it was McColl.
McColl.
Right?
Yeah, McColl was.
Yeah.
Anthony Thomas?
They did not have any in 2024. We could be here till 11 o'clock looking up the last one.
I think it's Nile Davis.
They did not have one in 2023. They did not have one in 2022.
Oh my Lord.
I feel pretty good about Nile Davis right now.
They did not have one in 2021. See, Nile Davis actually won't even pop up on these numbers just because these are regular season. Oh yeah, McColl did have a punt return for a touchdown. Where did that come in 2020?
Okay.
The COVID year. When did he get a punt return?
Someone says Pringle.
Pringle have one?
Well, Pringle returned one against the Bengals, and it got called back in Cincinnati right before halftime, and that ended up kind of costing the game with the flag. I don't remember.
This is a good one. Terry's right. Tyreek would have been after Nile Davis.
Well, no, McColl was 20. Was
no. I'm saying just like if you're looking for where it is, but yeah, I don't remember the McColl. I guess I vaguely remember him going.
Someone has McColl versus Dolphins.
But I listen.
Yeah, it was that Miami game. Yeah, it was in Miami that he had a 67-yard punt return for a touchdown.
Okay.
Was that like Mahomes' first year, second year?
No, it was 2020. Yeah, it was the COVID year.
Okay.
All right, are you ready for how it shapes up in the end?
Yeah.
Like Jeff, I'll take special teams. You want special teams in it or out of it?
Yeah.
I'll put it all in.
Yeah.
Put it all in. Jeff, -5 against the Pats, -7 against the Seahawks. Sam, +2 against the Pats, -6 against the Seahawks. And I was +1 against the Pats and -5 against the Seahawks. So I'd like to point out I was not the most positive guy.
Just against the Patriots, right? You were more positive against the Seahawks, I think. Yeah. To be honest, though, that speaks to the point I made earlier. Like, this roster was better than 6-11. In the same way we said last year's roster was not 15-1 caliber, eventually 15-2 when they rested the starters. This group was better than 6-8 with their starters this year.
I think we all agree with that. And right, Jeff, you'd still. I mean, find that these were better, but they weren't that bad. So that leaves you to believe what? I think there was bad luck, just flat out. There's luck in a year. Good teams overcome it. Or great teams overcome it. Good teams battle it. Okay, they had some bad luck. They had some injuries. Everybody does. They didn't really cope with them well. They have some scheme issues, right? And they have a couple of glaring talent issues.
And those talent issues have a major trickle down effect on the other positions. I mean, look, it not that it all doesn't work together already, but when you can't pressure the quarterback, it makes the job really hard on everyone else defensively. And I already made the point that the running game has more of a trickle down effect on the passing game than I think other teams have figured that out. And it's just the Chiefs have been slow to figure that out. I will say on this, in the 14 games Mahomes played, they had at least a 50% chance in the fourth quarter. They had a better than 50% win probability in 12 of the 14. There were only 4 other teams that was true of at that time, and the worst one was the Rams, who were 11-3 at that time. Every other team was terrific, and they couldn't figure out the fourth quarter.
Yeah, which they get a couple of players in the right spot. They should be a little bit luckier. I think luck goes back and forth almost each year. And injuries kind of run that way as well. If they're a little bit healthier, a little bit luckier, find a couple of right people, and they correct some schematic things. And I think the scheme thing is what is going to concern me until I see them get some guys high school wide open, right? That's what it's going to be. I feel like Steve Spagnuolo will scheme up the talent that you give him. If you end up giving him a badass edge rusher on the other side of Karlaftis, I think they're going to look pretty good with even, a little bit more wear and tear on Chris Jones and the other two. I think the defense will be fine. The question is, do they scheme up the offense again? Like they got to get better schematically, and it goes a long way towards running the ball, and that's why Eric Bieniemy's here. I think that's pretty clear. Listen, you can always support the Red, Gold, and Bold by supporting our great sponsors, Gann Asphalt and Concrete, great KC company. Since 1994, they've been solving parking lot problems, whatever it might be, whether it's building a new lot or just striping, putting signage up, concrete bumpers. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com. One contractor, all things parking lots, Gann Asphalt and Concrete. And Frontier Justice with locations in Lee Summit, KCK, and Jenks, Oklahoma. Frontier Justice offers firearm retail, a premier indoor shooting range, and training all under one roof. Find them at frontier-justice.com. For Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, I'm Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining us. You're on the Red, Gold, and Bold.